So there is a reason behind the free write warm-up that you guys had today. I asked you to write about a decision that you recently made. I wanted you to analyze what made you make that decision. Was it the advice of others? Was it the influence of others? Is it a character trait that you have yourself that made you make that decision? Are you adventurous, so you did something? Are you shy, so you backed away? What made you do it? I really wanted you to think about all the factors that motivate people to behave the way that they do, because it really plays into our lesson today. It's the perfect way to warm us up and set us up for today's lesson, which has an objective to analyze and to better understand the complex characterizations within the book that we just finished, The Crucible. And how are we going to do this? We are going to fill out an implication chart together, and then you guys are going to break up into groups and fill one out yourself on a different character. You're going to present them to the class, and everybody better be engaging and everybody better be listening, because we're going to have a little assessment exit test at the end. So let's begin. Let's define characterization. Characterization is the process by which the writer reveals personality of the characters throughout a literary work. So it's through indirect characterization and it's through direct characterization. Okay? Direct and indirect. Who could tell me what the difference is? What do you think the difference is? Why don't you take a guess? You?
Direct is straightforward and indirect is hidden.
That's right. Henry got it. That's correct. So direct is stated. It's just said. Henry is smart. And then indirect is a little trickier, but it's a lot more common in writing. It needs to be shown instead of directly stated. So how do we say Henry is smart without actually saying it? Well, we can write that Henry keeps on answering questions correctly throughout a class. When you're reading something like that, you'd be like, he is smart. He knows his stuff. So that is a way we can reveal it. And that's called action, okay? That's one of the 4 ways that a writer reveals a personality trait throughout a book. So action, okay? So what's another way? What is another way that a writer can reveal a personality throughout a book? What am I doing right now? What am I doing? Yes?
Talking.
That's right. Talking, speech, dialogue. The words that the character chooses to use throughout a book or throughout a play is very important. The dialogue that takes place between people shows you a lot about a character. So if a character keeps on cracking jokes throughout a whole entire play or book, you can probably infer that he doesn't take life too serious. A trait of his would be funny. He relies on comedy. So that's how you would take speech and make an implication out of it. So speech is another one of the ways that a character is revealed throughout a play. So I'm not finished. There is more. And I want you guys to take a guess. How do you figure out what your friend is like? What's something that you would look at to find out how they're like? Yes.
How people feel?
That's right. Feelings, emotions, how people react emotionally, especially in a time of challenge or just to any situation, reveals a lot about somebody. So if you see in a book or in a play that a character is really sad after something not that big happened, but he gets really upset about it, you can probably imply that he's a really sensitive guy, right? That would be one of the traits that they're trying to show you. All right, so lastly, this is something that goes on a lot in everyday life. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not sure, but what others think of the character. So what others think of you or your friends, it's like judgments, it's opinions. And these are important because We can find out a lot about a character through the character, but once you hear opinions of others, we get a bigger picture. So we have all 4 of the ways that characters are revealed. So we need to apply this. We need to put it into action, okay? And we're going to do an implication chart of John Proctor, okay? He is the tragic hero of the book. You know, he is the protagonist. So this should be easy, and then you guys are going to break off and do a different character. So let's start with action. Let's start with that. What is something that he does within the play that struck you? What's something that you remember that he did that kind of demonstrates who he is as a person? Yes?
He won't confess to witchcraft.
That's right. He will not implicate others either. He won't confess. He could save his life by doing it, but he chooses not to. So what does that imply? First off, it's really admirable of him, don't you think? He's valuing integrity over power. He's valuing integrity over reputation. And those 2 things, power and reputation, are very prevalent throughout the play, and everyone values those more than they value integrity, like John. So I think it really speaks wonders. It implies that he values integrity. So let's move on to speech. What is something that he says, or how does he say something in the play? Well, let's take this as an example. How about when he confronts Reverend Paris in the beginning? Do you guys remember what he said or why he was confronting him? Yes.
For valuing money over the church.
That's right. For valuing money over the church. For John to do this, what does this imply? This implies that he is very strong-willed. He's not afraid to express his opinion. He will say whatever he needs to say and stick to his guns. So he's pretty intimidating, right? He's pretty direct. So that's what it implies from the speech. So let's move on. Let's do what the effect of others is. What do others think about the character? What is something that people think about John? Think about somebody who thinks about John. How about Elizabeth? What does Elizabeth think of him? Yes.
Well, she's still suspicious of Proctor's relationship with Abigail.
That's right. That's very right. So what does this imply? What does this imply about John Proctor? What does this say about him as a character? Well, he is overwhelmed with guilt. We do know that. He's tormented by guilt. But it doesn't mean that he didn't shatter his wife's confidence, her security. He did something to their relationship that shows that he is flawed. He's not a perfect human. He made a huge mistake. So that's what it shows us about him. All right, so let's move back to here, which is one of my favorites. Emotions and thoughts. Okay? What thoughts and emotions did John Proctor demonstrate throughout the play? Gotta think of one. I think a good one would probably be how he's angry. He's so mad that the church and the court are both not using evidence to condemn these people, to put them to death. So what does this say about him as a human? What does it say as his personality? Yes?
That he values reason.
Yeah, he values reason. Not many people in the book value reason, but he demands it. He wants evidence. He's a rational man. That's what it shows about him. That's what it implies. And that's how we get from here to the implication, right? That's how we did that for all 4 of these. So what did we learn when we did this? What do we know now that we didn't know before? We know that authors use direct and indirect characterizations. And by looking into these indirect characterizations, we can learn a lot. You know, we have to read between the lines. We have to look really closely at the actions and the words and the decisions and the environments that they're putting themselves in to learn more about a character. So I hope that you can take this and apply it in your groups. I think you guys can, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to do.